So I feel like for this particular Sunday Extra podcast, we should play Truth or Dare.
Ooh.
Since we're talking about an honest and open life, but there's probably some things that I don't really want to know.
Or you could just dare me to go swim across the river outside there.
That would be a dare.
At which point,
I would rather tell you the truth.
Now that I'm in my 40s, I don't care about being cool, and I just wouldn't take that.
I just be worried about what diseases would leach into my skin.
Yeah, I actually have swam in the Trinity once before. A number of years ago, I participated in one of the mud runs.
Oh, yeah?
And they left that part out of the course ahead of time. There was actually 2 places where we swam across. I only did one of them.
Ugh. I'm told if you get out of town, the river is quite nice, but in town, it's a little...
I have canoed in other parts of it, but yeah, we were swimming over not too far away from downtown, and it's not a fun experience. Yeah.
Alrighty. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so yeah, we're last Sunday Pastor Ben talked about that hard attitude of of having an open and honest life, of kind of living one life. Had a question I thought you could talk a little bit more about with us, and that is, I think like we hear it in political discourse and within dating relationships and other places of just being transparent. And I think that's a way to be open and honest. But I know we've talked about that as a church before, but could you dig a little bit deeper on that whole thing about transparency and honesty and what that can really look like in a healthy way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to think about transparency, think about a window, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be able to see all the way through the window to see what's on the inside if you're from the outside looking in, or if you're inside your house, you want to be able to see through the window to look at the world out there. So transparency is just everything out there that is going on. And that's actually not helpful. That's not even scriptural. To just be this sort of, the idea is this just gushing forth of everything that's there, and then a lot of times people, well, that's just how I feel. Well,
it's being real, man.
That's being real. Well, I mean, really, we've talked about this before too, of what's in our hearts, right? Inside our hearts, we're selfish, we're arrogant, and we have the ability to damage other people. And in fact, Jesus even says all of the bad that comes out, it comes from our hearts. What's in there, because we're all fallen, we're all sinners. So we don't want this just transparent gushing out of anything that you're thinking. I mean, we've got to have filters, right?
Right.
And in fact, it's kind of interesting sometimes to. Children can get away with saying certain things because they don't yet have the filter. And then sometimes maybe grandparents, we give them a little more grace because maybe the filter has worn down a little bit. But for the rest of us, having a filter actually really is good. So when it comes to living an open and honest life, we don't want to go after transparency, but rather you need to use some discretion. And it's not helpful necessarily to say everything on your mind. In fact, that could get you into trouble. In fact, I remember years ago, I went on a ride along with a friend who was a police officer, and the very first call, right at the very beginning, there was some kind of a disturbance at a movie theater, and it was a group of youths. Young adults who were not making the best choices, and the police were called. I don't think there was any property broken or vandalizing. They were causing a commotion. Right. The police were called, and they were told just basically go home. And so no arrests were made. I can't make this up. This really happened. About 30 minutes to an hour later, we're in a slightly different part of town, actually on the highway, and we're in the squad car, and a car in the far left lane comes vroom, like speeding past us. And of course, I mean, he can't let that go, right? So we pull over in the lane, he turns on the lights, he goes up and pulls over that car. And he comes back to me with this look on his face, like, you will not believe who is in that car. And I'm like, who? And he's like, it was those same people that we talked to at the movie theater. And this is why I'm telling you this whole story. It was a fun story, but because we got to go fast with the lights on for a minute. But he comes back to the car, and we had a chat in the car, because we walked up there. As soon as he recognized who it was, he was just going to tell him again, look, this is not your night. Just go home. But the driver basically responded, and I'm not going to do a direct quote because this is a church podcast, but it was something like, just give me the blankety blank ticket. There was no filter involved. I'm sure that's what was going on in that person's heart. I'm sure that's what they were thinking and feeling at that moment. And because of that, there were consequences. They got to sit there for a while. And I mean, I think he was looking for like the taillights out and just anything else so we can write this person up, where what he was prepared to do was to let them go because they were obviously not having a good night. So no filter, actually they got in more trouble, and it cost them even more than it would have if they had have just been polite and used a filter.
So do you have an example, say, from, I mean, there are a few in my mind, but like, let's say there are things that you would share between you and Jessica that you wouldn't share with the kids, or that you wouldn't share with the staff, or you wouldn't share, like what are those layers of, I'm living one life, but given who the audience is at a time, I'm going to only talk about the parts of an issue that are helpful for everyone in the room. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely, like, we have to have a consistent life. That's what one of the things we often talk about with this hard attitude is that the person being represented on the outside reasonably matches the person on the inside. You can't just be totally two-faced. So, let's say you're going through some real challenges in life. Maybe they're personal health challenges, maybe they're challenges with extended family member, just whatever it may be. You're hopefully you have the kind of relationship with your spouse that you can like really talk just very open and honest about this. But then when it comes to the kids, depending on the age of the kids, you maybe it's not appropriate to give them all the details about something. I mean, I think even with this situation that we've been living through, in fact, I read something today on the day that we're recording this, that it was the 6-month anniversary of 15 days to flattening the curve.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of interesting, right? So
it's been a long 15 days.
Long 15 days. My kids know that there's a sickness that has been going on, but they don't know all the details. We don't talk about the number of cases with them. We don't talk about the number of deaths and all that kind of stuff. So you have to give your children what's appropriate for where they're at. But then even let's just say that, if we were dealing with something on a more personal level that it wasn't appropriate yet to share with the staff, I can't walk in though and just have this great big smile on my face and, hey everybody, life is wonderful. Like if it gets any better, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Right. So, but probably, especially if it's like a very big issue or challenge, like there's people who know you are going to know something's going on. So don't tell them, oh, everything's great. You can say things like, we're really walking through a challenging time period right now. Or please pray for me. There's some very difficult decisions that we have to make. Now, you don't have to go into all the details with the decisions, but at that point, you have been open and honest that there are some struggles going on. It's just may not be appropriate to share all the details of those struggles. So one of the ways I like to think about it, when you watch the like courtroom dramas and they got the witness on the stand and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, So that may be appropriate in some settings, but when I think about living an open and honest life, I am telling the truth in everything that I say. But I may not be giving the whole truth to everyone there. So if you think about like a circle, and that circle represents 100% of factual truth of what's going on, depending on who I'm talking to, it may be a smaller circle within that circle that I'm sharing. No, I am not giving them the whole truth, but everything that I say is consistent with the truth.
And it's not meant to deceive.
And it's not meant to deceive.
I'm not shading things to put things in a different light than they really are.
Yeah. So it's all consistent. And you can if you show up to work, you show up to group, you come on a Sunday morning, and again somebody asks you, hey, how you doing? You don't have to tell them that if life gets any better, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. If you've had a really rough week, you can say, well, it's been a difficult week, but thank the Lord that it's the weekend. God's been really helpful and gracious to me this week, but hey, pray for encouragement. Okay, you don't even, depending on who it is, they don't even need to know the details of why. But if you, who genuinely care about someone, ask them how they were doing, and they're like, hey, just pray for some encouragement for me as I'm walking through some difficult things. Well, now you can pray for encouragement. It's a thing. God knows what they need encouragement in, even if it's not appropriate for us to have all the details.
Yeah, that's really good. I know the people who have been open and honest with me, my trust in them goes way up. And I would like to think that as I'm open and honest with others, that my trustworthiness goes up too, from the angle of sort of what you see is what you're going to get. So if I'm not able to tell you all of the nitty-gritty details, then I can trust that I must not need all of those details. And then when I am in a scenario where I do need all the details, that I'm getting all the truth as well. It just helps build that friendship level of trust.
Yeah, and especially, again, this is a leadership challenge, because as a leader, whether you're leading in your family, whether you're leading in your business, whether you're leading in a group of people or teams, you're always going to have more information than's probably appropriate to share with different groups of people. But if you do what you were just saying, if they know that I may not be getting 100% of the information, but everything I'm getting is truthful, then that does build a lot of trust. And even as we've been walking through, we've had the leadership transition here at Hope. We're in the middle of COVID, and one of the things I keep saying all the time at our leadership community meetings is there's more questions than answers. I mean that is the truth. And not everything that we're talking about at a staff level and trying to make some decisions and move things forward do we share on Sunday morning with the entire church or even with the leadership community. But as much of it as we can, we want to share that. And then when there's places where we just don't know, we don't know, we're going to have to trust God. I mean, that's being open and honest, and that's literally all there is to it. That we're not hiding anything. We don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. You and I went on a planning retreat a couple of weeks ago. We talked about some really great things for 2021, but honestly, neither one of us know what 2021 is going to look like. We may have to amend some of those plans, just like we've amended a lot of the plans this year in 2020.
Well, thanks for sitting down with us and talking a little bit more about this particular heart attitude. If you are interested in finding out more about the heart attitudes or this particular heart attitude, then and you're in the Fort Worth area, hop in a group this fall. You get a free copy of our founding pastor Harold Book has written a book on these heart attitudes. You can get a free copy of that. It goes into more detail on a lot of these particular heart attitudes, and we're going to be able to cover on a Sunday morning. So you can find out more about the heart attitude. You have a resource you can go back to as you're doing that. And then while you're in the group, you can hear other stories of people and how they have experienced and applied and are practicing each one of these heart attitudes as well. So until next time, we will talk to you later.